Friday at that. Welcome, welcome, welcome for everybody being here. You know, we have to have the craziness. That's what we do. People say we're crazy what we do, right? We have fun. And today's a special ITAM kitchen because today we're talking about how we're dealing with the uncertainty we have at hand. There's been some specific announcements, and I hope everyone's here able to see it on multiple different levels. Appreciate any contributions you put in there. Make sure you ask questions as we go through it, because as we go through this, hey, there is no telling where it's going to go in the conversation. We love it. But we do have some special guests here as well. And we have Sasha, or everyone knows like Alexander Golev. Sasha and I know each other, so it's like Sasha.
Yeah. What's that name? Yep.
So we have that, and then we also have Rob Collins, my typical type of co-host here. And we're with the whole idea is the collaboration. How can we move forward in that part? Because here's what's really kind of drove me to do this last second. on top of testing a lot of things, and trust me, there's a lot of things being tested today for this, which is awesome, is layoffs, uncertainty. So okay, how can you get yourself that next step? How can you re-roll and help you think about better, right? How can you figure out, okay, what is that new opportunity for me? And specifically, uncertainty happened with a lot of layoffs with ServiceNow. I'm just going to go ahead and call it out. That's the elephant in the room. A lot of people were let go over the last week because of AI. Well, that also drove me to do some research and see how many people have been let go, et cetera. And I remember, let me remember what the number was. 150,000 people in this year alone. Now, that's not just in our space, right? Actually, it could be our space. I mean, if it is, it's a much larger. But 150,000 people because of technology, because of AI. And the whole idea is, how can we work through this, right? How can we help ourselves with that next step? This is part of that. Being able to say, okay, how can we can be the rock? Because what happened a couple of years ago? We had COVID. People stopped. The world stopped, right? Here we have the next generation of things. Okay, now it's AI. The world's kind of stopping for us because the unemployment making it happen. Now the government's not going to bail us out. I'll be brutally honest. I'm going to make a little comment on that. But it's being able to say, how are we helping move ourselves forward? Right? Because we have to, again, how are we going to be the rock and think about how we're looking at that? But as I say that, what comes to mind, Sasha? What comes to mind? Because I don't know, you're in the UK. Is the UK a little bit different and shielded from what we're seeing here in the US?
Are we talking about the general wipeout of jobs because of AI, or ITAM in particular?
You can intermix it whichever way you want to go. I was talking about kind of generalist, but it's also asset management is very much impacted as well.
We'll go from big to small.
So I'm not in recruitment, but I speak to recruiters. And when we're still looking for a licensing expert, recruiters told me that because of some of people losing jobs, not massive numbers, the salaries went down compared to just post-COVID time. I would put it like this. So good for me. I can pay less, but imagine that for somebody who lost their job, they now have to downgrade effectively. And the United Kingdom is. How many people do we have? About 40 million, I think. I don't remember the actual stats. And we have a lot of people that claim to be ITAM or licensing experts. So last time I checked, it was about 20,000. Nevertheless, among the circles I am in, I am not seeing an increased number of people with the green badge on LinkedIn. So difficult to say. But on the other hand, what we see as we're a team of 20 people now, but we're surrounded by contractors and small teams, 2, 3, 5 people, and everybody's reporting a massive reduction in leads. And we can only attribute it to two things: the war in Iran because it actually coincided with it. And the proliferation of AI, and I can see across the clients who used to come with just questions. They asked us for advice. They asked us about licensing. They asked us how we can help. The same clients coming now, leads. Almost every lead opens with, I asked ChatGPT, and and then the conversation continues.
Yeah.
So nobody wants to deal with ITAM consultants, it seems, at least at first, until they hit an actual brick wall. And so that's one thing. Nevertheless, I'm not seeing an effect on the job market, really, except that the recruiter said that the salaries have gone up a little bit lower. Again, what you need to understand about the UK is that we don't have the thing like in many other countries, including the United States, where you can have people on the West Coast getting 50K for something, and then suddenly, and in the East Coast, it'll be 300K. I'm just theorizing in the same job. We have bands. So a licensing consultant, almost regardless of where they are in the country, London has a bit higher salaries, is somewhere between 65 and 85,000. That's it. You can't go above that bracket. You probably won't drop below that bracket. So these bands are changing. They're shifting slightly. But judging by how quickly models develop and knowledge develops, and we have specific tests that we run against models to understand whether they still, whether they're more capable now to answer questions from our industry, or they still provide questionable, and I'm actually downplaying this, questionable answers. Models are improving. Where this is all going, have no idea. On the other hand, there are young people going into the ITAM industry. So what's going on? Are we being washed out by youngsters from cheaper regions versus AI? It's a question. I'm sorry for answering a question with a question, but let me start there, and then we'll see where it all goes.
Well, I think it's interesting you bring that up, because I think, Rob, you and I have been talking about that last couple of weeks within the whole AI and asset management. What's the impact to it? You're right. In one of the sessions we did, we talked about do you leverage AI in lower level resources to actually perform the function? Or do you go the higher level role and actually use AI to help supplement the lower level activities? And right now, to your point, I think everyone's looking from a salary perspective. And I think that was where, if I remember right, Rob, that's where you and I ended up our conversation. Right now, from a salary perspective, everyone's trying to get the lower salary, but the results are not the same.
Yeah, business is always trying to drive to the lower, cost point for their labor, no matter what. That's just the nature of business entirely.
But the results, I think the gap is actually monetarily, it's impacting the companies because the results are not the same. The experience matters.
Is the move in the United States the same as in the UK? So are you seeing the drop in salaries, or an actual complete washout of ITAM jobs? Because that, if it's the latter, it's concerning.
I would say you're intermixed right now.
Okay.
You're intermixed right now.
I mean, obviously they're connected, but what was the higher tendency? Interesting. Is this? Do you think it's the effect of FinOps, and then nobody needs licensing people? ITAM is not licensing, but to be honest, for so many years, everybody's treated ITAM as go manage Oracle. Because is that the reason? Then in that case, we all know that if a business is thinking that they don't need licensing people because they're on the cloud, they're just stupid. I can't downplay that.
Yeah. And
It hasn't become
assumption.
simple. It's only becoming more and more complicated.
Now, I was not on site when FinOps made the comment last week about software asset management will handle all when it comes to the tokens, right? And that was an announcement they made publicly last week. It started off the session with for the FinOps session. And so, are we being batted around again? I think we are. Can we stand up for ourselves? I think we can. Is FinOps going to respect us better than we were before? I don't know. I'll be brutally honest. And here's why. At least my thought. The vendors and the service providers are still pushing around. They're actively involved with those activities. The user community is still not speaking up. Could be wrong on that, but from what I can tell, it's still being driven by the dollar.
I think it's also the latest fire. I think it's the thing that's drawing the most attention now because, companies are now trying to wrestle with, things like overspend where they've applied their cloud environments, but they don't have their costs under control. And it's entirely possible where the industry is going to. I get a sense of that when I have read some things lately.
Now, is it going to help as far as the overall effort, how we're doing software licensing using tokens? The answer is yes. I've started putting some thought in towards that, and I need to write something up on that because I'd love to have a session just about that with you, Sasha, because it might help start normalizing how we're doing software licensing, which would be nice.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I'm on YouTube as you as well, and I like clickbaity titles. I try to stay away from clickbait, but some is that because of tokens. Is the clickbaity title. The problem with that title is that's what the end client wants. Because I remember my first exposure to a similar situation was in about 2011, if not earlier than that, when I had a face-to-face keynote, me versus a cloud guy, and unfortunately the moderator took his side, and they convinced the entire audience, and everybody clapped. Everybody was just shouting, elated, that finally licensing is going away in the next 2 years, in 2011. Because cloud came, and it is going to simplify everything. Nobody will need any licenses. People want to hear that message. I think the problem is ITAM, here's my clickbait. ITAM completely failed to convince, in general, I'm not talking about certain small segments, failed to convince the business that the business needs it. Total. And we know the business needs it. We know that it controls a lot of things, including IT security, including, it's not only about the money. But, but as an industry, we suck at marketing.
I'm totally, trust me, that's why we're doing what we're doing here. That was the whole purpose reason behind it.
I can come up with a clickbaity title for the next live on this channel, which will be FinOps is a lie. Or FinOps actually, question, does FinOps actually save you any money?
Oh,
convince me.
I can do that. I can release a video like that easily. You know what? Just for kicks, because I'm not seeing FinOps saving money.
I'm not either.
On the other hand, going exactly through the same problems. The reason for its success is because it's new and it's relatable. Well, look at the budgets. Budgets are 60-70% in the cloud and AI. I'm talking about large and medium-large enterprises. So budgets are in the cloud and AI. Licensing side is small, unless you're dependent on Oracle, IBM, and the old world. And Oracle itself also is moving everything to the cloud. They even stopped auditing 3-4 years ago and just said, fine, just take Oracle Cloud, not going to audit you. So it's still there. but it's boring. It's old school. Nobody wants to deal with it. And even internally, we have meetings with our founders thinking maybe we should rebrand to go away from the old licensing and the legacy. People still see us as old school. And so ITAM is still very much needed. Again, who got rid of HAM? Hardware asset management is an essential part of ITAM, and now the share of HAM in ITAM is growing. It's still there. ITAM's relation to IT security is still there. And
It is.
with all honesty, I mean, ITAM teams can still play a role in the cloud because FinOps is about, I may be wrong here, but this is my view. FinOps is about real-time control and catching, elusive, like ticking clocks, taximeters, making these adjustments. ITAM is a more strategic discipline that could be applied to the cloud around planning. FinOps doesn't do planning well. It should, but I'm not seeing that from the FinOps teams. Planning, negotiations, all the old school stuff, but not about licensing. Treating cloud as an asset. Maybe we need to learn something. Maybe we need to rebrand.
Well, I don't know if it's a rebrand because I think the rebrand, well, I mean, you could rebrand, but I don't think, how many different companies have already been rebranding already, talking about getting around the asset management?
I'm talking about ITAM rebranded. Maybe we need a new name for the discipline. Cloud asset management. Doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly. But I think you make an interesting point as far as the hardware asset management disappearing. And I know there was.
No, HAM is not disappearing. HAM is still here. The ERP company is still physical. That's a good point. Licenses are still there.
Yep. And they still need the hardware asset management. To your point, it falls short. And to your point, have we as asset management failed? We have. That's how FinOps even came to be. Even from what I saw, because when you think about the financial aspects of asset management, that FinOps is taking over, or FinOps is focused on. Let me say that. I wouldn't say they're trying to take over, but they're focused on, right? Mm-hmm. I've been doing that for 30 years, what they're talking about. I haven't been working on the cloud. Cloud's new, fine. But the financial aspects, the chargebacks, how you do cost, how you get approvals, financial approvals prior to getting equipment in instead of being reactive, right? Totally. People got lazy. I'm just going to call it out, right? So, well, it is what it is.
Until we understand what's the underlying reason for the layoffs, it's very difficult to have this discussion. So people watching us, could you kindly maybe comment in the chat? What do you think? Do you see people around you being laid off in the ITAM industry, whatever the part of it? And what do you think is the reason? Because right now it's quite difficult to put finger on it because it could be AI. It's probably AI, but is it 100% AI?
It's not. Well, so the way I understand it, when I saw something cross my path just recently, you can call it clickbait if you want. It's to be able to afford the AI, they're removing the salary. They're taking that salary and applying that to AI.
Yeah.
There's a cost justification. Mm-hmm.
We have quite a few comments, actually, interesting. I try to count SPLA every month with Copilot. Does it work for you? Probably, yeah. But then, see, that's the thing. So, which is strange. So again, from the point of view of a consulting business or like license management business, cost management business, I can say that our biggest competition has always been DIYers, people who would do this in-house.
Yeah.
And it didn't change. But now there's a new layer. Now we have DIYers that vibe code applications. So if a business could previously win with like, oh, we have a fantastic tool, then to be honest, I mean, I myself am working on a tool that would help me edit videos. It won't be as complex as Descript or any other large packages. I just don't need that many features, but I need something that works the way I want it to work, that does something A to Z instead of me doing it half manually. And I guess, is this another reason that maybe organizations are thinking that they can replace ITAM people internally with models?
Well, if you look at, say, and I can speak to the ServiceNow model, right? If you look and see where ServiceNow, and by the way, they're not sponsoring us anything, I'm just calling it out because I've been around the technology. They've done a huge push of AI around asset management, and they did that even for their knowledge conference they did a couple of weeks ago or months ago now. Is they said, hey, here's all the workflows, here's how the steps. But it doesn't do, but that's only 20% of the problem. That's what people don't realize. The human factor still isn't being addressed.
It's the easiest one to dismiss, I think. Call me biased.
Well, it is because everyone's been struggling with it. And again, you have a lot of anomalies from the, you have some experienced folks, but I saw something I was chatting with just this morning on LinkedIn or within the last day. I asked somebody who just got self-certified. He says, and I said, what are 3 things you just learned? He says, I've just been doing status quo for years. I didn't know about everything else. Didn't even know it was possible. So I think from an awareness standpoint, we've taken in, which the whole idea behind ITAM Kitchen is pushing it out, right? Sharing the knowledge. That's what we've been doing. Rob and I have been working on that, and Sasha's been part of this as well. Get the information out to learn how to do it better. I don't think that knowledge has been shared. That's been kind of cobbled together. Yeah, you have certifications, but still not telling us how to do the job. What we're going to run into.
Close to the chest too, and held, kind of not being released, not being made available, like trade secret. Some of those practices.
And that's also why even to have like the ITAM summit that I do every year is like how let's hear from the executives, hear from leadership to say, okay, and these are folks that are really also passionate about ITAM, these executives, to say, here's what I need from you.
Bill, by the way, plug it in. When is it? Is it in person? Is it going to be in Tennessee this year? So
yeah, so the ITAM summit, it's going to be the last week in August of 2026, 25th through 27th. And it's going to be in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. And so it's in the Tennessee mountains, if you look at northeastern Tennessee.
Ooh,
and it's going to be in person. And the whole idea is you're going to be hearing from, and we have QR codes right there if you want to take a look at it and scan it. The whole idea is you're in person. You're collaborating. You're taking home ideas to use back in the workplace immediately, and you're collaborating with your peers right there. So the socialization, the information, the collaboration is real. It's not about, you're seeing us right now on YouTube. We trust me, we love this stuff. We have more to realize for us, but it's being able to be in person and make that happen. And the whole idea behind that is literally saying, okay, how can we raise the level of bar of information? How can we be more strategic? Kind of like what Sasha was just talking about. That was the whole purpose behind it when I started this back in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
Bill, good. I think you're driving there, but I want to ask you, can you, because you came up with the subject for this today's live event we are in. They cut the job, not you. What are you heading with this?
Okay, so they cut the job, not you. The whole idea is how can you be better? How can you be the better you? This is your opportunity. For some reason, your world just got shifted.
Yeah.
Just got shifted. It's like, oh my gosh, happened. And trust me, it happened to me back in August. I'll tell you my story. I had the 15-minute conversation. Rob and I were teasing about this yesterday. Everybody gets that 15-minute conversation, the corporate conversation. Mm-hmm. I'm there. I'm talking to my executive and talking to him for weeks, months now, and trying to help him because I knew he's been going through layoffs, et cetera. Yeah. Well, he comes on immediately within 15 seconds. I have an HR person on the line as well. I said,
Of course,
oh, it's going to be one of those conversations.
that's the pattern. Yeah.
Right. But so the whole idea is how you put that. I said, okay. Honestly, by the end of that 15-minute conversation, the HR person was like my best friend. And the executive said, Bill, I need you to do one more thing for me. This is a real conversation. He says, what? He says, you're talking with a customer right now. And I was doing solution consulting, a very large global service provider. He says, yeah. He says, I need you to carry that conversation. You're not gone until Thursday. You're having that meeting like tomorrow. I need you to be on that call. He says, so to the point, he was directed to do that release. He fought for that release not to occur because he knew he didn't have the skills to carry that conversation on this team. So the reason why I say that, as far as they cut the job, not you, is my talents are my talents. Everybody has their talents and their skills, and I have an entire job strategy framework we can go through as well. But where I'm going with that is, don't let it impact. It's going to impact you because you have that shock. Absolutely, your patterns change. You no longer have the income coming in. It's been changed. You might have a little bit of severance. It happens, maybe not. Everyone's a little different. But where I was going with this whole part is to say, okay, you know what? It's okay. It's okay that you had this change because evidently it needed to happen. Everything happens for a reason. Life happens for you, not to you. And that's hard to remember. So by saying, okay, if it happens for me, how can I take advantage of this opportunity? Maybe you want a job change. Maybe you want to change companies. Maybe you want to look and think how you're doing your role differently. Maybe you want to define your own job description. That's where I was going with this. Things you don't think about. Because how often do we sign up for things, Sasha, Rob? We sign up for the job descriptions, and it's like they want the world, and they want the world with 15 oceans in it, not 7,
Of course.
15. Yeah. And it's unreasonable, but the reality is, what are you proficient at? What are you really good at? What do you want to hone in on? What do you want to learn a new skill? What was that one thing that you said a week ago or a week before you were released that said, you know what, I don't have time to learn X, Y, and Z? Take advantage of it. You're looking for a job, but this is your time. We get stuck in our head because we just don't have the routine, right? So figure out, okay, how can we leverage it and say, you know what? It's time to go enjoy the family a little bit more. Time to go enjoy, take maybe a week off. And trust me, I understand you want income as well. Take a week off. I just need a little R&R. Let's go take a holiday with the kids. Enjoy it, make the most of it, realize, okay, may not spend as much as we used to on that holiday activity, and come back and realize this is what a family is like. Maybe I need to change my style, my work style, and how I'm looking at my job, and as well as my role. And for the experience, you can think about some skills and have some time with your spouse you haven't had time for in a while. That's where I was going with the whole concept. You still are you. That doesn't change.
Yeah, I hit it from sort of a resilience perspective. If you're one of these people out there, and we are talking on the scale of hundreds of thousands of workers over the course of the last couple of years that have been laid off, due to a number of reasons. But, primarily, I believe it's the leveraging of AI towards optimization and cost reduction of the businesses themselves so that they can then report better profits back to the shareholders. Because really kind of, there's their objectives of the business, and then there are objectives, and there are, how would you say, the desires of the shareholders that run the companies. And so from that standpoint, from that ability to operate and the ability to generate profit, right, cutting workforce is a huge move. But it's been done before. It's just we're in new times with new tools, and they'll be leveraged for good and they'll be leveraged for not so good. But either way, here we are. And when I say we, I am speaking to those out there, right, that have just recently been put out by this. And in doing my research, realizing that you could be doing this thing for like 2 years, and it's not likely that anybody's severance package is going to carry them that far. And depending upon changes in the industry, and Sasha, I'm really grateful for the numbers, for instance, that you've told us so far about, because this gives some thought to whether or not is it realistic for me to continue to work the way I've worked for however many years it is, specific to ITAM, and how's that industry going? I've been trying to put my finger on the pulse of other major consultant firms to find out, where are they going? Are they abandoning ITAM entirely? Or are they shifting focus because FinOps is getting the attention? And it has been suggested, or has been, uh, how would you say, the picture's been painted, the perception is that as a competition between ITAM and FinOps, when the reality, of course, is that's not the case. But like you're saying, for clickbait purposes, one can definitely see that, and there are a plethora of posts out there that suggest it. But in true, financial operations, and in true business, for the companies, for their objectives, right? You say, we know there are great benefits. There are benefits to having ITAM in place. Now, for me personally, I have another sort of objective, and that is that I'm on the committee right now doing the alignment of the ITAM standard with cybersecurity. Today, I'm going to meet with two cybersecurity experts, and we're going to break bread and have that conversation around, this is more or less the product, the project. And now I'd like for you to show me your perspective. I can see it from ITAM after many years. I mean, 30 plus years of experience, right? But let me hear it from you, cybersecurity experts, like where the visibility in the enterprise has been weak, because here's a place where, as professionals, we can serve that and we can help with that. And vice versa, for those things that we haven't been able to see out there in the past, cybersecurity's point of view is really helpful to that. And so together, those two worlds could merge. And together, we can create a tremendous amount of value and keep that work going. But I do continuously ask myself the question, is it the end? Is ITAM fading out? I know it hasn't gone strong for reasons you've all mentioned before. It hasn't been good marketing. And recently, there have been some things that have come up around creating value from ITAM for folks. I think Martin Thompson had a great post a little while ago that I'm still reckoning with, right? Around the value of ITAM and how you can create that value to people out there, to kind of, because it extends our worth as consultants and as professionals, right? Plus, it extends the value that businesses can obtain by actually adopting these practices, even though it seems they've avoided adopting them in the last 10 years or so.
Maybe we should bring Martin into these conversations one day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to have him. I think from the value perspective, the industry as a whole has not done a good job. I will say the vendors have done a good job. I've been part of that, actually. That's the only reason why I'm saying that. Whether Peregrine used to lead the charge for a lot of asset management things, right? HP was the same way. Huge proponent for it. When HP started going as far as HP software and started changing out, the whole focus changed. I mean, at that point, literally, HP was in the room. When HP was in the room or Peregrine was in the room, everyone's saying, okay, there you go. You know the solution. You're moving forward. I'll be honest, you do that with ServiceNow, it's like, yeah, okay. Again, I'm not trying to slam it, but it's like, yeah, it's there. But would I put my entire reputation on it? No.
No, I wouldn't. I mean, because there are some known issues there, especially around the software asset management pieces, right? And these are issues that are known and that big consulting companies are even trying to work around, right? As this is part of the reason why I wanted to have direct conversations with their product development team and just say, hey guys, pull me in, right? Because I kind of see where those issues are, and I know that I can help to develop solutions around this. And it's going to make that product so much better, But getting that seat and being a part of that conversation is proving daunting. And in the current, employment situation right now out there globally, it seems like, but most definitely in the U.S., it's becoming more of a challenge. And the thing is that wanting to do this kind of good for our industry, our practice, and for the products, which ultimately also helps business, right, is at some point, for those of us seeking the work, it's not going to be the priority. At some point, the priority is going to go back to, can I pay bills? Can I eat? Can I have a roof over my head? And now all of a sudden that shifts. And I want very much to see, I want very much to see this for as many of us as possible, is to move to that create value and do our profession before the hierarchy of needs kicks in and all of a sudden we've got to shift.
I think the shift's already here. So if anyone hasn't shifted, they just got shifted. That happened on January 1st as far as when we started doing AI. So AI is totally how we look at, how we get information, how we look forward, what's happening executives. That shift is done, right? So that ship has sailed. It's out there. It's happening. It's actually been out there for a while. It just depends upon who's been leveraging it. We just all of a sudden it's become more prominent because now it's embedded with the products. I mean, I was playing with AI for the last couple of years and where I was, and it's like, oh, this is kind of cool. It's just help script it. It's great for wordsmithing, right?
Yeah, I enjoy
For
working
things
with
like that. Mm-hmm. But back to your point, it's being able to say how we work within this new world. How can we put ourselves to move that forward? I know the first thing I did. Actually, it is. The first thing I did when I was laid off,
Mhm.
you can look out there. I worked at Cognizant, right? I was doing pre-sales, I was a solution guy.
Yeah.
And I went on vacation.
Mhm.
Went on vacation with my girlfriend and we had a blast. We went to the ocean and got out and enjoyed it. And I knew I still had the community happening. I still had the co-op happening, et cetera. On top, because I did the co-op on top of working somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what? How can I clear my head? How can I just move forward? And I really enjoyed getting away.
It's a good move.
And what I did the week after, I had the summit.
Mhm.
I had my summit last year. And you know what? I had a blast. Why did I have a blast? Because people were in the room. We collaborated. I saw them light up, be able to share that information. That's why I figured out what I love to do.
It's one thing good about conferences. At least you have your entire, you have members of your own tribe around you.
And we went not just 3 days because we were a 2-day conference. We went 3 days last year. We went 3.5 days because the topic went all the way to the Friday morning. We continued on.
Mhm. That's great. Was that like a sidebar conversation and mushroomed or popcorn?
Yeah, everyone got into it. We were basically whiteboarding on Windows. That's how much room we had. Yeah, we were having a blast. And we did an entire workshop and helped one of the individuals there, one of the participants, to actually work through her issue, her staffing issue. She couldn't get out of her head, and everyone else in the room, we chimed in. We workshopped it. That's where the fun and the magic is.
That's always fun. I love brainstorming sessions.
Yeah.
Love it.
And where did she go from that? She's coming back this year. Absolutely. She's just like, I'm done, make it happen. But she was able to get her team, and she was doing some interesting scenarios. We all have an interesting spin to what we work with. And she's like, hey, make it happen. She was able to make it happen, push herself through. So how often do we get stuck? And this is the biggest lesson of all that. We get stuck and we just don't want to go any further. In reality, just keep pushing forward, new doors of opportunity.
That's a terrible sort of position to find oneself in. I don't know that it is always stuck because we don't want to, right? I do believe that maybe there's a hierarchy to that. Like they're stuck because you don't know, right? But you still have the will, the drive, the energy, and the impetus. There's motivation. Stuck because you don't want to probably comes on, and I'm sure there are many out there that are feeling this, where they've done this effort for a while, but they don't know now where to apply effort that's going to be constructive. They don't know where they're going to get value next. I mean, it's interesting and ironic because within the profession, right, and the customers that I dealt with, Many times they had no idea. They were starting fresh, or they just had a mess, and they were needing to organize and begin to stand up ITAM programs. I know that I loved doing that. I loved telling them, hey, here's how you can build an ITAM program, starting with what you have, and then eventually mature it later on. But at least, as from our professional standpoint, we know the steps. We know what an early maturity looks like. We know what middle and later maturity looks like in these ITAM programs. And there's so much value that companies can get from this. And that was one of the things in Martin's article, was assigning value, trying to demonstrate value through some form of structure in ITAM. So in that case, it was a restructuring of ITAM for that reason. And like we've talked about so many times, and we've told people out there online, that you've got to start with an alignment of your business objectives to how you support those with your IT programs, to how we support those through IT asset management programs. And whether the IT asset management is restricted only to on-site stuff or maybe air gap facilities, or if now we're also considering cloud and FinOps related management as well. I do believe that that's something, if as ITAM professionals, we should never lose sight of that. That should always at least be something that is informing us and that we're consulting at a minimum, right? To SaaS operations, for instance, and subscription software, because those things, they get out of control because there are good tools out there, but most folks don't know them to really manage what their SaaS environment looks like, who within their companies are accessing them, and then how they're getting those subscriptions, which then gets into shadow IT. And then, in my mind anyway, lastly, the cybersecurity part of it, knowing the entire environment. And I mean, I learned this back when I was a U.S. Marine, going way back then. But you have to understand the entire field. You have to understand the whole environment, so that you can figure out where your vulnerabilities are, because you have fixed resources and you need to put those in places that are going to protect you best and give you the best value. So this is where ITAM and cyber really work well together, because we already understand the environment, the gaps, how you do the discovery. And now once you do that, how you reconcile that periodically, and how you can inform cybersecurity to say, hey guys, I just want you to know that this 200 machines exists in this area. And based on my software scans, I don't necessarily see the cybersecurity tools in place. You identify that gap, the two of you now can get an action plan together and put those resources in place. And then as you extend that relationship, you tell each other, you inform each other of so much more. And that's what today's lunch is all about. It's not that there isn't value, but I think that as ITAM professionals, if we want to save our bacon.
Going back to the core topic, core topic, right? I think from a learning perspective, there's a lot to be learned. But I think we're trying to also, the reason why we're doing this live is because there's a lot of noise out there. We're not trying to contribute to the noise, right?
No.
Lots of good articles. How are you moving it forward? Sasha, you have some great articles out there as well, talking about how AI and some of the challenges. But it's also being able to say, what do I need to look at? I mean, I have at least a half a dozen playbooks posted on my own profile within that, talking about the value point. I've done values since forever, actually. But starting with long playbooks since December. Look at how that's put out there, right? Into the different requirements. I mean, I love it. There's a lot of requirements out there that we have from different organizations. Eliza, a NIST 2 requirement. We've got NIST within the U.S. So I'm assuming that's National Information Security. I can be incorrect on that. We also do a lot of things with that. We have lots of different parts we look in within our standards and how you apply that. How we do in government agencies. We have additional regulations being done. So there's lots of opportunity to learn and grow versus just doing the grind, which is why I want to kind of reinforce how we're looking at it, because this goes back to, what do you really enjoy about the discipline?
Yeah.
You could, and there's multiple different ways you can look at that, right? What do you enjoy? The discipline from, do you enjoy the discovery? Do you enjoy software asset management? Do you enjoy a specific vendor? Do you understand how to do the contracts? These can all be different roles. Do you understand how you look at the bigger picture you're setting up the organization? Do you understand how to set it up, or do you want to do operationally work with and oversee it? Do you want to be that? Everyone says they want to talk to executives, but are you ready? I'll be brutally honest, 90% of them don't. You're not.
Niching down is a fantastic idea. You know what the reality I'm seeing right sometimes, not everywhere, but I know personally a software asset management person being a one-man band in an 80,000 people organization.
All the time.
You know, you may dislike managing a tool, not going to name it, but it's yours.
Yeah.
We're not giving you anybody else. Yeah, you look after it. You said you're a software asset management professional. Do software asset management. Who cares that it's split into various sub disciplines? Nah. Yeah. Well, it's the thing is, I think it all comes back. I'm listening to you, thinking it's not about ITAM, to be honest. It's about just the ability of people, not even the ability of people. The typical scenario where the world is changing, and something happens drastic to us. For example, we had a job yesterday. Now there's no job, and it comes out of the blue. Or we had a business that turned over 10 million. Now suddenly, the turnover is dropped to 5, and you wake up one day, you look at it, and hopefully you still have something to live on. But you wake up one day, you step out with a cup of coffee, look outside the window and think, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot.
Yeah.
Time goes by quick.
It's the ability to adapt and regroup, and it's easy for me to say I've been through 6 massive financial crises in my life, and changed the country completely and citizenship, and I'm married for the 3rd time. So it surprised me, but people are not used to such change of circumstances, and I think regardless of ITAM, the conversation is about how do we help these people recover and rediscover themselves? It's more like that, and they still need to be amongst the peers, people from the same industry, because this is how you grow out of your current bubble. Because we like doing things we know. We're very much attached to the things to the things we know. Like right now, I'm an expert at Microsoft licensing. But there's a reasonable risk that in 5 years from now, I will be completely irrelevant if I don't learn Azure.
Okay.
I know Azure, but I'm not an expert in Azure. So being in, I must say something. Being in a cohort or a circle of people who are in the same industry in various situations. Somebody may be happy. Somebody may be in the same place as you.
Yeah.
It just helps you just to talk through this, and just to unload that weight. And if you are capable of listening, you will certainly find answers to some questions. Maybe the ones you didn't ask. Maybe not the answers you were looking for, but at least you're not stuck in your own head. And it's not. I don't think this question is ITAM related. I was going to ask you, by the way, in the United States, is this job market currently affecting only ITAM, or is it just the entire economy is in decline?
It's everywhere.
Because that is a completely different conversation. Then then ITAM is probably doing well.
It is everywhere. It is everywhere. And here's what I learned. I learned this just this week, right? What do you really enjoy? I actually had that exact experience happen to me literally this week. So I had somebody call me. It's like, okay, but it was ITAM, seemed to be type of discussion. They're trying to scope it out, how to move forward on a project. Fine, call me. I can talk about that stuff all day long, right? So he says, okay. He says, well, I want you to do the technical skills plus the other. It's like, you don't want that. So you need to differentiate between the two. well, this is what we need. This is what the customer asking for. It's like, I know what the customer asking for. And it's like, I'm just trying to tell you that's not the talent you're looking for because you're going to run into X, Y, and Z. And I was able to guide them to say, here's what you're going to run into. So I was educating this. He says, well, I need you to talk to my salesperson. Okay, fine. So next thing I know, I'm talking to their salesperson, same thing. It's like, he says, well, I know the customer, don't want to mess them up, et cetera. To your point. And it's like, okay, well, so he's like, we've got a call with them tomorrow, et cetera. I said, I'll tell you what, it's on me. I'll help you scope the project. On me. Scope the project. So because here's what you're running into, and this is what you need to guide the customer to. Again, I'm trying to give everyone little tips how to talk, how to move yourself forward here, right? So it's on me. Represent yourselves. I'm just the guy in the background because you've already told me you don't have the resources to carry this conversation. I will give you credibility. It has nothing to do with me. Carry you credibility so you're able to move forward. He says, okay. He says, I'll call you back. And long story short, the guy never called back. I got a phone call back today from the original guy I talked to. So I'm used to be ghosted, et cetera. Don't get, you might get offended by it. Everyone gets ghosted. Everybody does. So just, I was like, get used to it because that's the world we live in.
Yeah.
I hate to say it like that, but it's true. But I got a phone call back today, literally just before we jumped on this call or this session. And it was the original person I talked to. He says, Bill, I really appreciate that conversation. You talked with us. We actually had a customer conversation. We told them that you were willing to offer, et cetera, and kind of the roles and what you outlined. They said, that totally makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
He says, thank you. So you regain credibility of the customer conversation because the dialogue we had with you. My point behind that, sometimes you don't know the impact you're going to make on someone else until you say, here, I'm just going to give you a little knowledge. We'll figure out the rest and we'll work through it. What came out of that was a huge relationship. He says, can't use it right now, but customer says, yes, we're going to keep you in the queue because you can carry a conversation. But number two, we want to keep a relationship because we need someone like you to help scope our projects. Again, we talk about job descriptions. They were looking for something entirely different, looking for the world. And by this simple conversation, it did a couple things. One, it gave credibility to the conversation, gave credibility to them, to their customer, which is huge because that's really what you're trying to do and all said and done. It also gave the ability for them to say, okay, we're going to have that relationship ongoing. But here's the part that most people don't think about. That conversation this morning, I think about even more because I've not had time to think about it until me doing a live right now. Literally, there's no scripts, guys. I'm just talking.
Oh, yeah.
The more I think about it, you know what that did for me? Back to your point, Sasha, you just said it. You get in your head, right? Mm-hmm. I can carry a conversation. The credibility is there. I was able to mentor someone so they're able to go that next step and take that same message and go with their customer so they have credibility as well. Mm-hmm. You know how powerful that is? We don't think about things like that. That's what I'm talking about. That's why I want to have this so people understand. We all go through really weird times, right?
Oh yeah.
But that's huge. It doesn't really pump my ego. It helps the ego a little bit. Don't get me wrong, but it says, okay, I am pretty good at what I do. That's not being egotistical either, right? Provides that assurance that we all need. Mm-hmm. Anyways, I just want to give that little story because I think that's also very important here for us to help realize that sometimes it takes time for that to bubble up. And if we're not working on our own skills, how to communicate, how to go that next step, you're never going to get the opportunity to say, how can I help you? Don't know where you guys want to take that, but that's what comes to mind for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's all sorts of things that you do in your roles that you have for however long, right? And the gift of gab, as you say, is one of those things. And yeah, it's necessary and it's a marketable skill. Let's put it that way. Right? The ability to organize, right? The ability to sit down with a group of stakeholders and get them to identify their pain points or the data that they have to work with. You know, these are all things that are marketable. And I think that maybe the challenge is trying to find ways to leverage them that you haven't before.
Well, And here's what's the opportunity here, right? We all need community. We all need community. We need collaboration like this. If someone wants to be here on the ITAM kitchen, have a discussion with us, feel free. Trust me,
Yeah.
we have a lot of fun. If you've seen any of them with Rob and I and Sasha, we have a blast in these sessions, right? If you want to help contribute, make it happen, it's like, well, I'm a little intimidated being on video. It's okay. We'll coach you through it. Because that's what I want to do. That's my mission, is to make everyone else more proficient. It's also about being a community. That's why I created the co-op. That's why we have the summit happening in August in person, to have that collaboration. So we all get apprehensive. How do we overcome it? We have to do the reps.
Mhm.
It's not in the training. It's not the certification stuff. This is not certification material. This is life. And I'll give an example a little bit more. So who are you going to meet? Who are you going to do at the summit, right? Pat Sakala used to be in charge of the asset management team at Gartner Group itself. She's a phenomenal individual, and she's going to talk about the future of software licensing from her perspective. And she's in charge of, I think, the largest software asset management project I know in the globe. Cool. And she's been killing it. And she's been a lot of work. Trust me, I hear lots of updates, and there's some things she can't talk about because of what it is. But we all have it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Rob, you're coming in. You're going to talk about standards.
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit about standards. But, and that's like, because I've worked with standards like all my life, so I'm, I worked at it from the perspective of the support of scientific and regulatory endeavors, from atmospheric science to air pollution, and so those sorts of things. And even going all the way back to when I was in the United States Marines, because there was battery NCO for a while, supporting a Marine Corps communications unit. Plus, I understood all of the radio equipment that we had, the satellite equipment, and the telephony, all of the telephony equipment, for instance. And I always hit all of those things, let's say, from a very practical standpoint. And then to get further understanding, especially to my experience at Motorola, I was sort of, they were the ones that opened me up to, did you know that there's a standard that governs the following, around manufacturing, for instance, and the putting together electronics and sales and distribution and security, et cetera. So it was through that, right, that I got my intro to it. And we really are talking like 30 years ago. But then, of course, I was able to learn history. I came up through those things. And then as I sort of progressed at the Florida Department of Environmental Protection with the ambient monitoring group, right, it became very important. It was core to understand how those standards worked, because we were using equipment that required very, very fine calibration and understanding how that all worked. That was my introduction to WWV and the National Institutes of Standards and Technology. And then from there, sort of backtracking and interfaces with Department of Defense standards. They were the ones that had one of the original data destruction and hardware destruction standards that were out there. And that's eventually evolved. Okay, it's morphed up to the current 800-88 standard that's out there right now, published by the NIST.
We're talking about the 19770, though, right? That's what we're going to talk about.
We can talk, yeah, we'll definitely talk about 19770. And in particular, what I want to talk about is how would you build an ITAM program? Like if you had to start today from scratch and you didn't know how you were going to do it, right? I would direct you to 19770, right? I wouldn't direct you to the 2017 or the 2020, I think it's 5 version of -1, because it shifted, right? But the rest of that conversation could happen there. It changed radically between the 2012 version and the 2017 version. And I don't know, I think that this might have been when like Working Group 21 came to be, because when it shifted from a very practical standard, and I've built ITAM programs based on the older version, right? The newer version is a management standard and doesn't. It threw a terrible amount of confusion into how one goes about doing this, right? But I understood the difference between those, the management standards, for instance, thanks to my experience with the United States Department of Environmental Protection, with Sonoma, California, with Department of Defense, with NIST. with the Department of the Navy, and with engineering school and thought coming through Motorola and going into that DEP experience, right? And so when we go there, we'll talk about that. What I'd love to do today, what I think is still marketable, is I would like to sell my services helping the customer build an ITAM program from start, from scratch. And I know the frameworks from which to do it. But access to those frameworks and that kind of knowledge, that's the paid content. That's the stuff that eventually I hope to pay my bills with, right? And then everything else up to that is the free stuff. It is an enticement. It's a form of marketing. It's a form of education. I hear constantly about people who don't trust their CMDB and they don't trust their asset management programs. They don't trust their inventories. And there's a way to approach that, very pragmatic, a very structured approach. And you can answer those questions. But the hard part is we know that there's value, right? But monetizing that value for these things becomes a little bit tricky. There's a couple of folks out there right now in the UK that are doing this work. And
so let's kind of we don't want to get into the entire presentation at that point. The whole idea was to kind of give an introduction a little bit from what we're going to be doing this segment, right?
We'll do all that there.
Yeah, we'll definitely get that. It's easy. We're very passionate about what we do, guys. We're very passionate. It's awesome.
We're running down rabbit holes.
I haven't figured out what I want to talk about, in this summit. We need to have a separate discussion about that.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's all good. Because the whole idea is we're there for the practitioners. We're there for the participants. And we have topics. We have the knowledge. And you're bringing the strong individuals into the room. And that's the important part. You're growing. You're thriving. It's not about us just pontificating. You see how passionate we are. Absolutely. We can pontificate. It's that interaction. You have that able to be in the room as well as amongst your peers. Because what happens is we don't do breakouts. I'll put this. Our breakouts are a little bit different than you see from a typical. We take a seminar approach.
Okay.
One individual at a time speaking, and then we'll do breakouts. Our breakouts are going to be talking with peers and exchanging ideas of what you learn and how you learn from each other. Mm-hmm. There's the power.
Yeah, that's good.
And that's really what differentiates. And Sasha, you've been part of this, right? Being able to have that collaboration is huge.
Mm-hmm.
I like the format that we had in Atlanta. I think it was the second one where we had a round table. There were not many participants. I don't remember, 30 participants, something like it. And you managed to put them all around the table, like a large, massive table. That was a non-stop conversation. And by the way, even presenters went against that because actually it spiced up the presentations. Some of them would otherwise be very academic without that chatter. And I think that's what I love the most, that ability to immediately look somebody in the eye and just talk to them. It was amazing.
Yeah,
which you get them breakout sessions as massive conferences. Obviously, you get that. That's the whole idea. But
it's not where you're going to a knowledge conference where you have 30,000 people there and your breakout and it's just I'll say chaos, but it's managed chaos, right? You're going multiple different directions, meetings, sessions, breakouts, presentations, side chatter, whatever it is. And because the whole idea behind it, again, this is an important part as a role and for someone that's been, you need community. That's kind of where we started from. You need community to work with. And that community is being able to say, I'm in a safe area, I can talk, right? Because sometimes, honestly, there's so much noise right now on LinkedIn, and I'm trying not to contribute to noise, I probably am to a degree, is don't know what to believe. And there's a lot of AI slop that's going out.
How long? It's 99% AI slop. LinkedIn was killed by AI.
Yeah. So being able to figure out how to move that forward, right? That's the whole idea. And also those takeaways, right? Well, to have those conversations, because what stays in the room, I'll say stays in the room, but you're able to say, consume it, make it happen. Like, for example, one of the things I did last year, that we started was talking about the job strategy framework. Here's how you look for that next role, right?
Yeah.
How do you framework? How do you put that in place? We talked about that. That was a workshop. And from that, people, it's like, oh, next step. And literally people changed their jobs and other people got jobs because of it, right?
I'd love to see that, because that helps. I think that would be really helpful. I mean, it's easy, and I thought we would dedicate a little bit of time today to tell people, right, that if you're out there and you're in this position, what should you be doing now? I'm sorry, I was really hoping that the local career source, Capital Region folks would have been available to come on for like maybe 10, 15 minutes to help out with like what is a job finding agency, an unemployment agency? What are they doing? What are they doing for people now in this situation? And I'm thinking maybe when we do the next one, they'll be ready to come on camera and talk. I think that would be helpful.
So let me ask this question, Rob, because I know we're also thinking about possible AI. Do you want to throw some AI in here?
Yeah, why not put some practical examples out there?
I mean, is there something that we have queued up to go? I think I was looking at something from a job perspective.
We don't have anything queued up, but I've got a couple of prompts I know that I've been toying with, I'm working through. I think that, one of them, a good example that we had was yesterday around finding ITAM employment and what's the right compensation and whatnot to sort of like show. And it was interesting because that output from yesterday's prompt, Bill, if you had that, right, just directly to Sasha's earlier point around the numbers and around the change in rates for ITAM workers. Because if all of a sudden the market is flooded with resources, 150, however many thousand unemployed, now all of a sudden the rate just got a little cheaper. Because again, thanks to the hierarchy of needs and time and shifts and money, these people now all of a sudden will be willing to accept less to do the same or more as before. And in a lot of the advertisements that I've seen since November of last year, it seems like everybody wants the unicorn, but they want it at the price, let's say, of a miniature donkey. Well, good luck. Good luck with that. It bugs me because it feels like it's doing a disservice to people in our profession, but it's the way that market forces work. It's economics, and it's a terrible and harsh reality. But the sooner, I guess, that we become aware of it and accustomed to it so that we can use it to leverage change within ourselves, then hopefully the sooner we'll hit those objectives, and then we can carry it on and grow it after that.
Yeah, well, the whole idea behind the AI prompt was to be able to say, how can we further look for that next role? And I know that we were talking about ATS formats, things like that.
We did talk about that.
That was about some of that. I mean, so let me start with this. Here's the strategy network for whoever wants to take notes, right? Or you're going to want to take notes as you do this, right? The S is for self-assess. How are you self-assessing what you're doing? How do you self-assess your own skills? How do you self-assess what you really enjoy? T is for target and identify. Identify a target where you really want to be, what you want to do, what's that next step. When you start looking at the bigger picture, say, here's what this is what keeps me alive, this vibrancy, right? Sasha's about licensing. Rob looks at the entire program. He loves the government side. I love just being able to help provide that light bulb to the other person on the other side. That's what I enjoy. I love to communicate. Everybody has their own, but who are you going to do it for, right? So then the next word is R. That's for refine. So you have this big idea. You know where you want to do, what you want to do, potentially even companies you want to work for. Refine within the company who you're going to work with.
Yeah.
They say, well, I can't get through HR. I have to apply. I have to go to that next step. Maybe not. I found most of my contacts, most of my jobs come to me. I have direct connections. 9 times out of 10. Now that varies. Everyone's a little different how they look at it. Sometimes some people say, well, the online system's working great. If it works great for you, awesome. I would say for me, it hasn't. But you're refining, right? Next, this goes very closely to what we just talked about, the refine. Now you're going to align. You're going to start understanding what their needs are for that company, that organization, their needs and that role, and say, how can you better align with that? Because at that point, you're connecting with the individuals, you're having the conversation, and you're saying, yeah, it's going to stretch me, but this is where I want to be.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the STRA so far. Next, T is taking root with your own tribe. Be part of a community. Understand, okay, others, individuals, brainstorm a little bit. Say, here's what I'm thinking of. How can I further brainstorm? Right?
Yeah.
How can you do that and participate in communities like the IT Management Co-op? We have the co-op exactly for this, right?
It's support, but it's practical.
It absolutely is. Next, you start doing that, you're expanding visibility because you're allowing the awareness to get out to more people. At that point, you've talked to companies, you've talked to a community, you have members aware of saying, okay, this is what I want to do. This is what Rob really enjoys. That's right. So when you have a conversation, you might find out it's not for you. It's like, you know what? I've got a buddy of mine, hey, Rob, he's a perfect fit for this. That's what I'm talking about. How can you work and have visibility with other individuals so you're actually hand off?
Mm-hmm.
Next letter, G. Let's grow. How are you growing your own capabilities?
Oh, I see.
I know there's a comment that was put out as far as soft skills. We're talking about how to put that. And the comment was, it may be powerful, but it doesn't pay the bills. I'll say I disagree. Totally disagree.
Good support paying
If
the
you're
bills.
going to learn the skills, if you're going to learn the certification and not know how to apply them, you've already failed, right? I'm just being brutally honest.
You have to wait
If you're
for
going
an
to figure out how to
investment too.
communicate, how you move forward. Go ahead, Sasha.
Are you talking about hard skills or soft skills? Because if you talk about certifications, we're talking about learning specific niche industry skills, or are we talking about growing in soft skills? You know what I found is, I would rather hire a person without certifications but with good soft skills and people skills and just general, quick-minded people that.
Yeah.
Versus somebody who's maybe very proficient in licensing but can't talk to clients.
Correct. And my point behind that wasn't to slam anybody, but it's more about putting in perspective, because a lot of people think about, okay, yeah, I understand you're signing up, but are you signing up for the right job? Is that really what you're going to enjoy? And that's the important part. That's more powerful than any job you can ever get. I can give you $1 million job, beat you the nose of the grindstone, and you're absolutely miserable. Or you get something a little less than $1 million. Sideline that. You really enjoy what you're doing. You have time with the family. You're able to enjoy life.
Yeah.
And it brings it a whole new level. That's what I'm talking about. Right?
So what do you want to do with the rest of your life? Mm-hmm.
Well, and that's extremely important. I've had to learn that. I learned it the hard way. I'm having the time of my life right now. Right? Yeah. And trust me, I was a traveling IT consultant for 30 years. Had some challenges along the way. I had some growth. There you go. How do you move forward?
Yeah.
And the why, that's the last one to help finish up strategy. How are you going to yield the role? How are you going to actually gain that role that you really want? How are you going to help work with that individual and say, here's the skills that you're actually needing? Similar discussion I just talked about, my own experience I had talking to services director as well as a salesperson. I know what they asked for, but that wasn't really what they needed. How can you further refine what that is for you? Mm-hmm. So to your point, the skill set, things like that, absolutely we'll talk about things like that within the summit. I give it real quick and dirty here. And trust me, you can leverage that today. Go listen to the recording, listen to that today, and be able to move that forward, right? Mm-hmm. And which one are you thinking about there?
The last one, yeah, that's an interesting. Had 2 years of constant contempt when asked. The licensing. You have because is it that they were so surprised that you do licensing? Because yeah, I remember I have a story I've been telling many times already. When I just moved to the United Kingdom and I had a business, then I sold it and I thought I like this country, I want to stay. And I had to go through all the 7 gates of hell of applying for a visa and whatnot. And the question was, how do I sell myself? And I wrote a CV. And in that CV, the tagline was, I'm passionate about software asset management. And I sent it to a professional CV editor because I always had companies. I'm not an employee. It's very difficult for me to write a CV. I don't know what it's supposed to look like. So I sent it to a professional CV writer, and he responded to me and said, it's a good CV. Remove this bullshit from the tagline because nobody's passionate about software asset management. I was like, mate,
Whoa!
I am.
Yeah.
Nobody's passionate about software asset management. Well, I am. I'm crazy about it.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Yeah,
And
licenses.
you should try to figure out how to brand yourself when I say that. Because I love that, Sasha. Because what did I do on my own CV? And everyone can look at my profile. I'm the ITAM mechanic. How do you fix it, right? How do you fix things? How do you get the next step, right? And I appreciate what happening here in the chatter. You have individuals, they're doing a sole person for a 500-person company. Great. Awesome. If that's your passion, make it happen. And the other part was after the first big client, Microsoft licensing, his license skills were powerful, so it also paid the bills. That's how it happens.
Yep. Yeah.
That's exactly how it happens, right? Some additional chat.
It's a bit of a praise for me. If I hadn't found some expert, I would be sysadmin for Microsoft stuff. Well, thank you. This is what we exist for. It's not always about the money. It's we're in the same boat.
Yeah.
The only problem with that passion about software asset management and the job that we did is between my divorces. Obviously, I was dating, and imagine a date asks you, so what do you do? You're like, oh,
I totally get it. Being in that scenario right now myself, I totally get it. And people say, "Do you ever work?" My neighbors ask me that. I live in a semi-retirement. Do you ever work? Because I've got the RV outside. It's like, sure, I can be anywhere.
I made up this story with the glasses. Remember, I probably saw it, Bill, when I said, look at this glass. Yeah, you think it's just a normal glass, but the problem is you can only put wine in it. You can only fill it up to 50%, and God forbid you turn it upside down. And if you share it with another person, they need another license. That kind of explained it. Suddenly made it interesting. Yeah, crazy stuff. We're all, I guess, passionate. That's I want to go back to what I said before. I think the biggest obstacle is we really get too attached to what we know, and we're not open to learn new stuff. And it's scary. Why would I spend so much time and potentially money on learning something I still don't know how to use, and I'm not an expert in that area? And I guess for those people who are being laid off right now, maybe learning FinOps is not such a bad idea, and there's a lot to learn. It's not so real FinOps is difficult.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, especially if you've never done the financial management part, which is really what they're focused on. If you've never done that before in your life, the curriculum is great. So I'm not trying to slam it on whatsoever. I think it's phenomenal. For those who've been in it, it's like, okay, fine. How can you further enhance it? Because it looks at the entire transaction, how something comes in the environment for a financial standpoint. So that actually is the back end. That's actually the half of asset management. When you look at the bigger picture, that's why it's like, okay, you've been around it. So yeah, absolutely. You should look at something like that. You should do public speaking. You should, if you want to learn, hone up a skill, you want to learn your AI, make that happen, right? And Well, this is the other part. There was a comment that just came. The joke: Microsoft laid off Louise Ulrich and got and
Licensing school, yeah.
okay, and
And,
got to hire two guys to do her job.
if that's a true story, it's not. It's only part of the story that they had to hire two people to do her job. She actually went to licensing school. A licensing school up until a couple of years ago was the biggest contractor for Microsoft to actually review their licensing guides and update them and publish them, and they managed to get licensing ready, the free certification platform for Microsoft. So, so if they fired her and then hired people internally and then continued to pay her as a business, okay, good for Louise. What I can say.
Yeah.
Well, it's very, but that's also where this is the opportunity for you to think and grow outside the box. Think outside the box. This is that opportunity you've always wanted. We talk about all the time. We do chum. We have beers. We were at the pub. We're having beers. Like, you what if? Well, that what if scenario is here, right?
Yeah.
And that's where I'm talking about. How can you say, and maybe this is the weekend for you. We're kind of a long weekend. The reason why it's on the 19th is this Juneteenth here in the U.S., which was the kind of the end of slavery from that standpoint. So it's become a public holiday. It's like, okay, I'm taking advantage of the time, make it happen. We didn't have another thing scheduled. Make it. That's why we're talking today.
And it's like floaties too, isn't it? Like, well, June 19th is the actual day, but typically companies celebrate by either giving the Friday before or the Monday after off. Those are like typically the options.
Correct. Just having it today.
Yeah.
And where we're going with all that is that opportunity to learn and grow. There's multiple opportunities. Be careful of the free stuff, because I don't know what you're saying, but my saying is you get what you pay for. If it's typically free, it's not out there. Now, don't get me wrong, you have some great ITAM kitchen, et cetera, some of this free, but that's only part of the answer. Be part of a co-op, collaborate, make it happen, right? If you know ITAM, you can just write the license requirement and send them to the client. Yeah, it's pretty funny. But also get part of the community, or be part of like the ITAM Summit. Again, happening end of August. It's where you're actually, I always say, if you're not in the room, you're not in the room.
Yeah. Be part of the conversation. That's why we do stuff like this. Come in, comment. We like to address those. We like to take observations from folks that are out there too, get their experience and share that among the group.
Well, so here's something else to test yourself. And this AI, it's AI spin on all this, right? Because AI is out there, and literally I just saw something this morning where organizations are going to pay more for AI than they will for people and the skills. That's where it's headed. That's exactly where it's headed. And I have to say, I totally agree. Tokenomics is part. It's not just knowing tokens, it's more.
What's driving that?
It's driving which?
What's driving that? The willingness of an organization to put money into AI versus putting it into people, and the struggle for the longest time versus putting that money into a proper ITAM program.
You don't have to deal with the people aspect. It's a machine.
Okay. Is the promise that was sold, for instance, also about AI? Because I think that enters into it. But ultimately, and how does that relate to what we're talking about today and the people and what they do now and going forward?
My point is,
yeah,
and actually Amazon's had this happen. There's a couple other organizations that have done the massive layoffs, and they're starting to hire people back because they realize the human element still needed. Asset management will continue to need the human element. It doesn't go away. If you heard anything for the last couple of weeks from Rob and I, we've actually been reinforcing it almost on every episode where the human element, you have to have the human element to be able to make decisions, to actually help provide some validation, to confirm and provide that trust mechanism back with the human part of it. Because at the end of the day, asset management, it's not a technology problem. Never has been. People think it is. We deal with technology. It's a human problem. How we collaborate, how we communicate.
Yeah. Nothing
That's
to
the
add.
part. Yeah, that's where we start. AI can't quit on you. Well, I don't know. AI quit on me a while back. I had to switch one. I got rid of Chat GPT and went Claude, because I couldn't do chat anymore. Chat kept getting amnesia. Um,
Yeah.
it's kind of a problem.
It's the model. Opus, the current Opus is an arrogant bastard that told me off for calling him a liar.
Pedantic about it too.
Yeah,
But where I'm going with that is think about where you are and how you can further grow. This is your opportunity. Take advantage of it. Yeah, you need to. And honestly, the pity party, I'm just going to call it out. The pity party, you need to have a pity party. Have your own pity party. Have it and go have the beers and however you want to do it or you don't and just socialize, complain about it for a little bit. But here's the catch. Pause yourself or stop it after a certain period of time. It's time to move on.
You got it.
Bill, can we bring somebody on this event
What you
to
want?
continue this conversation who went through the entire story of being laid off, the valley of despair, and what I'm going to do, found themselves. It would be interesting because people would relate to such a story, and it would be a really good example. I mean, you are a good example, Bill. Don't take me wrong, but do you know somebody you could bring as well that could talk about it?
Yeah, we can do that.
I think that would be a good idea.
Yeah.
If anybody is listening and watching, whether you're live or you somehow found this video via a recording and survived until the 90th minute of it, if you want to talk about your experience or your overall ITAM experience, reach out to Bill, please, because this channel is looking for interesting speakers with stuff to share.
Yes.
Oh, there's plenty. And sometimes what you don't realize is your contact you already have. Actually, this is true. You already know the person that's going to help you with that next role.
Mm-hmm. Networking is a very powerful tool, especially in this situation. Some of the people that I've worked with and I talked to say that was the reason why they were able to move into something new, something different.
Mm-hmm. I got a contact. I just thought of somebody for sure. I was reached out to. So when I talked about this strategy framework, I'll just give an example. And talked about this back in January, maybe February. So recordings out there if you guys want to see it. I did a abridged version, but there's something right there on the at ITAM Kitchen on the YouTube. So I had someone reach out to me probably about a month ago now. I can't remember his name right now for the life of me. He's out in Nashville, Tennessee. He says, Bill, I really love that framework. It was awesome. I go, okay. He says, no, it helped me get my job.
That's good.
Helped me realize what I really wanted to do in my core focus. Is it perfect? It's not, but it allowed me to get on back on my feet and realize, okay, it's okay to move forward.
Yes. Well, that's good. What you
That's
produce
from right here in this channel.
How did that impact, let's say, your sense of purpose?
My purpose?
Your sense of purpose.
Oh, I loved it. That's perfect. That's ideal. That's what I want everyone to enjoy. It's not about ego for me.
No. It's more often than not, it's about how we can serve others too. I know that was a big thing for me, was sort of taking this perspective, right? And my perspective at the time and saying, well, what can I do? Because you can only spend so much time evaluating a resume or a CV or putting in applications. I mean, you could flood the field with them. And now with the help of AI tools, you can saturate the field with applications, right? I don't know, and I can't speak to the quality of those tools, right? Not yet anyway. So, but what can you do else? What else could you do, for instance? And so much of that Bill spoke to so far on this episode, right? Taking the break, making the cut, getting out of your head, taking the time and dealing with that trauma or whatever you want to call it, the initial break, the breakup. So you can move through that cycle so that you can wake up refreshed, wash your face, and keep going forward and not be pragmatic about it. And then there's the self-education. There's finding certifications that are applicable, something that aligns with your experience, those kinds of things. So there's so much more that could be discussed now, and that could be shared with those folks out there that find themselves in the same situation. And so I know that I'm looking forward to the rest of it. Yeah.
There's lots of agencies that can help you. Again, like the co-op, make that happen. You can be part of the summit. You can do Toastmasters, learn how to public speak a little bit more. And I do highly recommend that as well. I've been part of that for about 20 years. Do highly recommend things like that. Sasha's been part of my group on the public speaking. We had, and he and Sasha, I'm going to tell Sasha's story for a second. So remember the first time I invited Sasha, he's on there. He nails it. He nails it like he always does. We talk afterwards. He says, Bill, do you realize how nervous I was coming in that call? But it's all about taking action. So I'm giving the example, and I'm calling Sasha out on purpose because I was quite proud of him. Quite proud of him because he did something uncomfortable and made it work. And he totally enjoyed it, by the way. He had a blast.
I do enjoy it. Yeah, that's true.
Fantastic.
Sometimes you never know what you're going to do because I was just reading something this morning. We don't push ourselves nearly enough. We don't. If we push ourselves 3 times or even half as hard as what we do now, just half as hard, don't even about 3 times, but half as hard, you know how much more you can do? Reading a book.
I learned that lesson in the Marines.
Yeah, exactly.
Time again. Yeah.
Reading a book 30 minutes in the morning every day. You know how many books you can read at that point?
Yep.
And it's just, and from sleep, but you've learned and help educate yourself. Now, book, whatever book you want. I like self-help books, motivation books, things like that. Everyone's a little different. Maybe you like other type of books.
Yeah.
Maybe how you're journaling. You put some time in there, you get out of your head, right? That little bit of time in the morning is huge. I'm just using an example. So we'll continue on. And actually, Rob and I are talking, Rob, we're still going on in 2 weeks, right? We're going to do that January 2nd, I think.
Yeah.
3rd.
Yeah, January 2nd or 3rd.
3rd. Or not January, but July. July 3rd. So we'll do that on July 3rd. Right. So July 3rd, we're going to continue. We'll do another special episode of this. We'll continue on July 3rd. Kind of a holiday weekend.
I'm hoping that
we're dedicated to making
that one too.
What's that?
Yeah. It's funny too, being right before a holiday, it's difficult to bring on like public sector resources because they get the day off. More often than not, they're not going to commit. Unless they have a sense of ownership over the work that they're doing. Yeah. That's cool, but that would be really helpful.
Yeah. No, we'll work on it, but we're going to do another special episode in 2 weeks. So we'll commit to that right now.
Yes.
Make that happen. If you've not seen anything with the ITAM Kitchen in the last few weeks, we've talked about asset management AI, or AI and asset management. We've had lots of different topics on that. Right? And I'd love from a perspective from the help desk. That's how I started. I was a desk side support. That's how I started in ITAM.
Yeah.
So being able to how to put that. But the whole idea here is how we're helping others. That's what we're doing. So Sasha, I really appreciate you being here. Rob, as always, we're having a blast. And being able to go that next step. And from that, unless anybody else has anything else, I think we're going to call it a wrap for today.
Okay, super good.
Appreciate everyone. We'll see everybody else and whoever wants to join us on Monday. Absolutely. Go to ITAM Kitchen. You'll see all the updates, or linked up to my profile within link up to my profile within LinkedIn. You'll see it stream as well on that. So see everybody then. Thanks, guys.
That's super good. Thanks, Sasha, for coming out.